Hello, wanderer. Welcome to the swamp, a place of sighing moss, sleepy mushrooms, and fragile courage. A place where sadness floats like pollen, and healing sometimes wears mismatched socks. You've landed in the middle of a very unusual evening, a quiet revolution, not loud, not violent, but tender. Internal, emotional. Tonight's story doesn't move fast. It doesn't chase anything. It doesn't try to fix you. Instead, it invites you to slow down, to lie back, to drift. This is a story of choice, of softness, or feeling things you thought you left behind. It's not here to challenge you, just to hold you. You'll meet Sparklehoof and his cracked horn, Sassburn and her painful truths, Doompaws and his dread blanket, and Stillmorn, who speaks in silences deeper than fog. The echo is back. But this time, they don't run. They gather. They listen. They vote. You don't have to keep up. Just follow the tone. Let the voices and metaphors wrap around you like mossy dreams. Take a breath in and out. Good. Let's go to the swamp. Just because it glitters doesn't mean it's gold. The echo beast didn't move. It didn't loom or lurch. It didn't snarl or slither. It simply hovered. Not above the swamp, not beneath it, but somehow inside everything. Woven into the fog, folded into the roots, floating in the breath of the moss. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat muffled in heavy blankets, like the emotional version of a light left on in the hallway, not for vision, but for comfort. The fog shimmered faintly around it, like it wasn't entirely sure whether to reflect or absorb. Puddles mirrored it back imperfectly, glitching slightly as if memory and presence couldn't agree on shape. And from the moss came soft whispers, not in words, but in sensation. The ache of remembering something tender too soon. The weight of almost crying, but choosing stillness instead. It didn't roar or demand. It simply was. Like sadness with good posture. Like guilt that didn't apologize first. Like the moment just before someone says, "Actually, I'm not fine." And around it, the CareCats gathered, not in strength or strategy, but in the kind of vulnerability that shows up with ruffled fur, cracked cymbals, and unspoken trembling behind sarcastic one-liners. They formed a ring, frayed but intact, of dried moon tears, loamy sighs, and a few brave emotional support mushrooms. No two breathed in sync, but still they stayed. Stillmorn stood near the center, just in front of Queen Velvet. Her veil flapped in the soft wind, torn at the edges, barely hanging on, more suggestion than shield. It didn't hide her, but it did remind everyone that even silence has seams. Mordekitten exhaled slowly through his nose, a sound that could only be described as 2 centuries of unsent letters trying to escape at once. "We can't keep standing here pretending we didn't almost hug our worst fear," he muttered. voice low, cracked like old vinyl. There was a pause, then a scream from the rock gremlin had just kicked. She didn't flinch, just blinked once, nodded, and muttered, "Yeah, same." Anxiety, always 10 scrolls ahead of emotional disaster, was already unraveling parchment with color-coded headings. At the top, "Fuck me." Anxiety, always 10 scrolls ahead of emotional disaster, was already unraveling parchment with color-coded headings. At the top, catastrophic outcomes and mild inconveniences. "I say we make a list," she said, already scribbling. "Pros and cons. Subcategories optional, but encouraged." Sasburn, lounging nearby but pretending not to listen, snorted. "Con. Everyone finds out I have feelings. Pro. Flames burn brighter with pain. Neutral. Sparklehoof, whose tail had achieved maximum limpness, somewhere between overcooked spaghetti and existential scarf, narrowed his eyes at the echo beast, like it had personally canceled his birthday, and his backup birthday. "I used to manifest clarity," he muttered. "Now I feel emotionally exercised." Salt Shadow, as always, whispered without looking up. "Technically, that's growth." From under his dread blanket, Doompaw sighed so deeply it startled a nearby mushroom. "Let's just do the thing, whatever the thing is. I'm tired of everything being so loud." Gloompur, calm and patient, placed a paw gently on the moss. "That's your soul yawning," she said with a small smile. "Let it nap." And then, silence. Not hollow, not awkward, but deep, like the kind of silence that plants grow roots in. Stillmorn's voice arrived like a breath in a quiet room. "I think we need to let it in, but only if everyone chooses it. Fully. Not out of pity. Not out of pressure. Just willingness to feel." The echo beast pulsed again. Not louder or closer, just realer. Like fog around a dream you're not ready to wake from. Gremlin sighed like she had been volunteered for something she secretly wanted. "Fine," she muttered. "I call dibs on leading the screaming circle of pre-vote catharsis. Bring your loudest fears and your most dramatic hair." The swamp stirred. Not quickly, not dramatically, but slowly, like moss stretching after a long nap. Like sadness warming its limbs for the first time in a while. Like readiness pretending it isn't afraid. Stillmorn sat beside him, folding her legs underneath like moss settling back into earth. She held her mug loosely, the one that said, "Not today, Silence." Though tonight, she made no effort to resist the quiet. She let it breathe with her. Her voice, when it came, was soft enough to feel like a blanket itself. "I know numb," she said gently, as if the sentence had waited years to be spoken. "I lived there, decorated. I lived there, decorated it, called it home." She let the words hang. Not like a lesson, like a lantern. Inside the blanket, Doompaws let out a soft noise. Not quite a whimper, not quite a sigh. His voice rasped, hoarse from not being used for real things. I don't want to move back in, but I'm not sure I can leave. It wasn't resistance or defeat. It was that liminal space between exhaustion and hope, where wanting something hurts more than not wanting anything at all. Stillmorn didn't offer comfort as a cure. She didn't try to brighten the moment or sweep away the heaviness. She just nodded. One slow, deliberate motion, like the swamp itself was listening too. You don't have to, she whispered. Just crack a window. There was no lightning bolt. There was no motivational soundtrack. Just a small shift. With a kind of reverence usually reserved for sacred things, Stillmorn reached out. Slow, deliberate, and gently folded back the edge of the blanket. Not all of it, just enough for one paw. A sliver of night air slipped in, soft, humid, honest. It carried the scent of wet leaves, the sound of distant frogs, and the quiet hush of moss remembering how to breathe. Doompaws didn't speak, but he didn't pull away. His paw twitched once, then again, and finally, tentatively, it reached out, not far, but just far enough to brush Stillmorn's. Not a grip, not a plea, just contact, like a whisper that says, still here. Stillmorn stayed. She didn't try to do anything else, because sometimes healing isn't a process, it's a pause, a moment where someone sees the blanket and doesn't ask you to come out, but they still make sure you're not alone in there anymore. The swamp hummed low in the background. The mist curled gently around them, and above the blanket, the stars blinked softly, as if the sky understood. Some nights are for windows, not doors. The swamp had long since settled into hush. That kind of hush that wasn't silence, but tension holding its breath. Even the vines had paused mid-reach as if listening. Salk Shadow's pause made no sound as he paced, slow, steady, almost rhythmic, behind Cataclysm. The air around them shimmered faintly, not from heat, but from the unspoken weight of things too big to say out loud. Cataclysm sat still in the mud, not slumped, not proud, just there. Their fur emitted a dim, pulsing glow, like a dying ember that had once been wildfire. It flickered every few seconds, as if it couldn't decide whether it wanted to be seen or not. Their tails curled lightly around their paws, a protective loop, a fragile barrier. Salk Shadow watched for a moment before finally speaking, his voice low, not accusatory, not even curious, just wondering. You explode, he said softly, but you don't burn. Why? Cataclysm didn't answer at first. Their eyes stared into a puddle where moonlight had drowned. The glow around them dimmed further, flickering with a memory of heat that once meant something. Then at last, "Because I implode first," she said, quietly, completely. "By the time it comes out, I don't know what part of me is still mine." The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They just fell, like stones into water, absorbed, swallowed, never returned. Salt Shadow stopped pacing. He didn't blink, didn't tilt his head in empathy or furrow his brow in forced understanding. He just paused, because he recognized that feeling, the slow unraveling, the way emotion eats its way in before bursting out, wearing your face, using your voice, leaving behind only the question, "What's left that's still me?" He walked forward with care, not hesitation, care. And when he reached Cataclysm's side, he didn't sit, he didn't crouch. He placed one paw, quiet, grounded, gently on her shoulder, a gesture so small it could have been missed. But Cataclysm didn't flinch, didn't glow brighter, didn't move at all. And that stillness said more than words ever could. "Then maybe," Salt Shadow murmured, "we let the echo take the rest." A breath passed, or maybe a tremble, and see what comes back. The swamp sighed around them. A soft gust rustled the moss. Somewhere far off, a moth blinked its wings, scattering silver dust into the fog. And though nothing visibly changed between them, the glow around Cataclysm warmed by a half a degree. Still flickering, still uncertain, but now, just barely, willing to stay lit. They didn't speak again. They didn't need to, because some healing happens in pauses. Some rebuilding begins with not needing all the answers. And some nights, just touching the shoulder of someone who knows your ruin is enough to keep you from fading entirely. Nightfall in the swamp. By the time the moon crept up behind the smoke trees, the swamp had hushed. The echo hovered near the edges of their circle. 13 CareCats sat together, not in formation, not in symmetry, but in chosen closeness. Moss cushioned their scars. The mushrooms hummed lullabies in minor keys. The roots hummed back. They didn't hold hands. They didn't chant. They just were. Tomorrow they would vote. Tonight they felt. You made it through the story. Maybe you drifted in and out. Maybe you caught every line. Maybe you don't remember how it began. And that's okay. That's more than okay. Because this was never about clarity. It was about softness. About letting your nervous system feel a little less lonely. The echo is still here. The echo is still here. It always was. But now, you know you don't have to face it alone. The echo is still here. It always was. But now, you don't have to face it alone. Breathe in and out. Tonight, you don't need to fix anything. You don't need to vote. Just rest. Let the moss hold your worries. Let the frogs keep watch. Let your dreams be messy, soft, and yours. And if this story gave you even a whisper of comfort, good. Maybe subscribe or follow or visit us again, because the swamp will be waiting, with tea, with glitter, with the kind of quiet that doesn't demand, but welcomes. Sleep well, and remember, you can feel things and still survive them. Good night.